I'm honored to be in front of you this morning. I do not take this position lightly, and that's why it's difficult. I mean, right, Archie? That's why it's difficult, because you don't want to. If I were to make a fool of myself, that's fine. That doesn't bother me. You know, that is such as life. You make mistakes sometimes, or something doesn't happen the way you intend. But what I don't want is to forsake a moment that Yahweh has ordained. And this moment is ordained. And that I don't want to mess up. And I'm not going to. Because I know that you are people who want to hear. And so no matter how what I say comes out, I believe you are a people that you will take those words and plant them as seed into yourself, if I don't do a good job of doing that. And what is meant will come to fruition. So I'm going to start with talking about the song that they just sang and what Yahweh showed me in that in that moment. Not something I hadn't really seen about it before. And Jamesy, I told you I was going to do it, and I'm really trying to stay by this thing to help you out. But because I'm thinking while this is happening, I move. So I'm going to do my best to stay in this general area. But I apologize in advance. He's running the cameras, in case you're wondering why everybody's laughing, and he's over there with this joystick trying to keep up with me. But when she was singing that song again today, and it was talking about the, at first it was when she was talking about anointing the feet of my God. And I'm telling you, I'm going to anoint the feet of the Father today. Because I anoint the feet of my God in being obedient to His Word. In being obedient to the head of this house, Steve Parker, who asked if I would want to share this morning, and me taking that. And being obedient to that, I anoint the feet of the Father. I set a stage and a standard for this day and this moment to be right and to go forth and create what it's meant to. And then as she was singing about singing the song, as he first sang over you, I got a lot of songs. See, I didn't realize that until she's singing it this time. Because in the first time that was ever sang, what I honestly pictured was when after Ava had been born, Steve came to visit us, and I'm going to get emotional for some reason, but sitting in our living room, he's got her laid on his lap, my daughter, my like 3-day-old daughter, and he just began to sing over her. And so that's always the way I had seen it, is the Father singing this one thing that He saw about us, but it's not quite that. It is that, but it's not just that. I'm telling you what, He sang over you every moment of your life that is a key to your purpose. So today I'm going to sing my song to you. I'm not literally singing because that gets scary, but I am going to sing the song because He first gave it to me a whole long time ago that I don't remember. But I'm telling you, He planned it then. He planned this moment. So in this moment, as I'm obedient to what He sang then, as I'm obedient to sing it now, and I anoint the feet of my God, I'm telling you, like He said, how the oil ran down Aaron, I'm telling you, it's running from the feet of the Father over each and every one of us today, if we're willing to hear that song and sing it ourselves. Because I'm telling you, when I sing the song that He ignited in me, it should ignite a song in you. And it should call to remembrance something that He has for you. Amen. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. I should have changed the settings on my iPad for sure, so this thing would go in black on me. All right, so as I said, He brought several different things to my remembrance. Things that He had revealed to me earlier, things that Steve has spoken recently. And so I kept just writing things down thinking, like I said, something was just going to explode. So one of the things He brought to me, and it was interesting that even in this, Kaylee said it when she was speaking, a while back, I shared with the youth. And at the time, the Lord had, as I was as I was going about my day, I'll just say that right now, I heard something, and what I heard was the statement that he meets you where you're at. What he showed me into that moment was that the religious system, or people in general, have taken that, used it as a crutch to say that no matter how I live my life, no matter what I do, he'll always meet me. Not really completely true. He will meet you there until you have gained the revelation to know that where you are is not where you belong, and that whether you're living in sin or just outside completely of his will, to then walk correctly. He will meet you there. It also means he'll meet you where you're at. Here I am, right here, and he'll meet me in this spot, or this one. It also means to me, he's going to meet me in the place that I'm at, meaning whatever my surroundings are, whatever I'm involved in that time, he's going to meet me there. He's going to figure out a way to relate to you. So that word that I received was while I was mopping. And we won't go into what that word was, but the funny thing is he spoke me that in order to show me what he wanted me to share to them. All right? That's right. Mop for Jesus is what I do every week. Recently, I discovered, this fabulous thing called Audible. All right? And Tim, thank you very much, Tim Carney. It's an app from Amazon that allows you to listen to audiobooks. Something I would have never thought I would have wanted to do. I wasn't much of a reader back in the day, and then somehow through my wife or something, I kind of started to read more, and I enjoy doing that at different times. But we went on a cruise, and the book club was going to read this book, and she wanted me to read it, and I thought, I don't want to read a book right now. We're going to go on a cruise, and you're talking about wanting to lay out on the deck, and I have an iPad, and I can't really see the screen. It's uncomfortable. I want to do that. So then I'm the king of free things, so I get this free trial of Audible, and I get 2 free books. I'm like, sweet. So I tried it out. It was awesome. Amazing. I love it now. So I've been doing that during the week. I listen to books while I'm working here. If you see me with a earbud in, I'm probably listening to a book. Because I'd gotten used to actually listening to music at first, and I thought, hey, this is a cool way to, I'm doing my work that sometimes doesn't require a whole lot of actual thought. Say it that way. I'm not calculating figures or something while you mop the floor, so you can do 2 things at once pretty easily. And so I've kind of gotten in that habit. So I was listening to a long series of books, and the only way I feel you can really understand my word today is I'm going to read one. So for the next 14 hours... I hope you will enjoy. No. So I actually started to listen to, because I tried to read these books, or it's one large book or multiple books, a long time ago, and it was so lengthy and wordy, I finally just quit. All right? But it's The Lord of the Rings. Now, you see, you got people making faces over here, because all they ever did was see the movie, and they didn't like the movie. And which I do like the movies, so I can't go either way on that. But there's a myth involved that the gentleman who wrote those intended it as a representation of Christ and Yahweh, and that's not true. There's many other books written to say how it parallels. It was not his intent. But as I was listening to those, some things began to stand out to me. And as I began to think about where we're at as a house, in which what Steve has been speaking this year, and different times, things that he's spoken over the last few weeks, it really ignited something in me. So I have a goal today. I actually have 4 goals today that I want to accomplish. Don't worry, that's not like... going to take, I heard a few people go, oh my gosh, 4 things they want to accomplish. This is crazy. So my goals today, I want to encourage you. I want to hopefully release you. I want to empower you. And also, I hope to challenge you. And so, in reading these books, you know, obviously, if you don't know the story, or you haven't seen the movies, and you're like, oh, he's going to spoil it. Nah, man, it's been out for like 40, 50 years. You've had your time to read it. Movies have been out quite a long time, too, so I don't feel bad. But basically, the story, as everybody thinks about it, focuses on a character called Frodo. Do you guys have that picture to throw up real quick? So I was going to originally, well, you can't see it as well, but I was going to say, does anybody know what this is? And then I was going to feel like a real nerd if nobody knew who it was. So I was like, maybe we won't do it that way. But this is the ring that Frodo has to bear. Okay? And so the story is much about him and his journey to do what's called to do with this ring. Okay? But I think if that's all you do, if that's all I did when I read this is focus on him, it'd be very much alike the church focusing on nothing but the crucifixion of Christ. Because there's a whole lot more in that story. Not only the Bible, obviously the book of the Bible, but in the story of Christ, the story of Yeshua does not begin and end in a crucifixion. It didn't begin and end in a 33-year span, but it is still continuing on. And it will continue on. No matter the choices we make, his story continues. And so I began to look at a different character. And that's the character that I focused on this time. Character I loved when I had watched the movies as well. But they stood out to me and things were different because of the place I'm at now and the way I saw it, and also the way the book describes things versus the way a movie interprets it. So I want to talk to you about Gandalf. Or Gandalf, depending on how you... I will say Gandalf because the other one sounds weird. But that's who I want to talk to you about. And some people, if you know the story, thinking, well, he's a wizard. You shouldn't talk about him in church. That's what they call him in the book. I really don't want care what you label him on. As far as I have gotten in the books, there's not one time that he has given some incantation that is weird or whatever. He has done nothing but speak words. And in those words there was life and power. And it created a result. Okay? So the part that I am trying to figure out how to do this without like trying to tell the entire story. So but the part that really stood to me, if you've seen the movies, then if this didn't imprint in your mind already, then I don't know who you are, but you're not somebody I want to be friends with. No, I'm just kidding. And Seth is leaving now. He'll tell you later that it was to go to work. It's not true. No, I'm just kidding. It is true. He's going to work. But so they have to, at one point in time, they have to make a choice. They're going to go up and over a mountain, or they're going to go through what's called the Mines of Moria, which is, in the book, a dwarf kingdom that's under a mountain. And so this whole time, Gandalf knows where they're going to go. He knows the path that needs to be taken, but yet he's with a company of people. And in his wisdom, he also goes to their wisdom. And there are those, and as they talk and they come to the agreement of where they think the safest travel is. It's not what he knows already, but he agrees to their line of judgment. So they try to go over that mountain. Doesn't work out. And he then says, well, just so you all know, I gave to this person, another person I trust and love and respect, and therefore that's why we're here. But this is the path that we're going to have to take. This is the path I knew we should take. And so they take it. And I love that because he never gave up what he believed and what he saw. But he was willing, by the word of another, trusted to try another avenue still. Knowing that the ultimate path and purpose would still be completed, no matter which way. But he knew, he had seen clearly. He had had the vision. He had had the vision of what needed to play out. And so they end up going, and Under the mountain, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The movie's not right. Read the book if you want to know what really happens under there. And they come to, in the end, they come to this bridge. To leave from this area, to go back out into the world, they come to this narrow bridge that they have to cross. And as they begin to cross, in the interim of that story, something is awoken. And they say in the depths and in the darkness of that mountain. And it comes after them. It's called the Balrog. In the movie, they make it look like this really cool fiery beast thing. It doesn't describe it extremely well in the book, other than to say it's large and basically on fire. So it comes after them. And on that bridge, as they all are crossing, Gandalf realizes, or I believe already knew, this moment would come, and he had to make his choice to stand in defense, to stand to save the others with him, or to continue to try to run. And so he stands on the bridge. If you've seen the movie, it's a very compelling shot where he stands and strikes the ground with his staff. You shall not pass. And you see the influx of power that goes out. And yet this thing proceeds. And so he does this several times. Now see, this is what I saw in this. Gandalf, he had the faith. In that moment, he knew what it was going to come to, and he had the faith. This thing can't beat me. Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't know. He didn't know. He stood. He stood in that appointed place, in that appointed time where he knew he should get to be. I believe he did not know the result of that moment. But he knew, without me making this choice, they don't make it. The purpose that we are all out here for does not get completed. There's the one chance. There's one opportunity. There's 4 million, say, possibilities. There's one that makes it happen. And he knows this is the center point in which, if I do not complete this task, it can't happen. So he puts himself in harm's way. And so he does that about 3 times. And eventually, as that thing tries to advance on that power that he is now exuding, because he's beginning to know who he is. And he's got faith in not only who he is, but where his power comes from. As he stands and that thing strikes at him and it's blocked, and he fights that thing, the bridge breaks away and it falls. As it falls, it shows it in the movie. It's actually described almost identically in the book. It cracks a whip, grabs him, and starts to pull him down. Now the truth, or in the book, I want to say the truth as if this is a real story. Now in the book, as they show it in the movie, everybody kind of stays back because he says to go. But the truth is there's 2 of those people are right there with him. 2 characters. The one is called, well, they're all called multiple names. That's what you learn all their names in the book, all 472 for each character. But one is called Aragon, and one is, I just forgot his name, Boromir. And they don't relinquish. They don't say, well, just because he's going to take this, that we don't back his faith. It's not that we don't have a part. He may be to play that part. So they actually back him. They come forward. They join what they have to what he has. And they stand together. Now, so as that thing whips and grabs him and pulls him down, does he reach back to grab them? No. But he takes it. He falls. He goes. And says, fly, you fools, just like it says in the movie. And so they run with great anguish. It wasn't like just something they just, oh, yeah, he's gone, let's go. But they go and they feel lost because he was the counselor that they sought. He was the one that they were used to knowing the way. Even if they didn't always follow what he knew, they were used to him knowing the way. And so they begin to make their way. And we're going to leave them because it doesn't matter what they're doing. So they go through a bunch of trials and tribulations, and we'll talk a little bit about that, I think, at some point. But we'll follow Gandalf, and so he falls through darkness, is what it says in the book. He battles through darkness. Obviously you think he's dead, whichever version, whether movie or book. At this point in time, you assume he's fallen into darkness, into this great chasm in the bottom of a mountain, and he's dead. But he goes through a trial, through a tribulation, through a test, whatever you want to call it. But eventually he does come out. Now beforehand going in, he's known as Gandalf the Grey. Wears a gray coat. When he is seen again, he is seen as an older man in shambles, of a grayish coat, not seen, not known for who he is or what he is, because they had no faith. They didn't have the faith that what he saw would lead to a different result than what they saw. They didn't have the vision he had. And so he shows up, and they finally realize who he is. He remembers who he was, but he aligns with who he is now. Who after that thing that he has gone through, after passing through darkness, and I don't think he passed through darkness because that was evil. But what happened was, to me, I look at the white and black. He was gray. He didn't know in which thing he resided, in which place he had power. So he was in the middle. And so he passes through, and story goes on, trying to think what is relevant. The next point I want to take you to is he comes to the point, which I guess I've kind of skipped something to make this completely relevant. So before they go on this journey, let me just jump back real quick. They come to a council of people. So in this council of people, there is a person from every race, at least one. There's actually multiple. And so these people have been, one person stands to make the choice to do this task, and that's Frodo. That is true, just like they show it in the movie. They're basically kind of cast off to the side because they're small and insignificant to these other people. But he's the one who stands up and says, I'll do it. I'll do this thing. And then the others, not as they show it in the movie, somewhat it is, but mainly they're chosen by the rest of that council. Some stand up and they do say that I'm going to go with him. And but in that council, they talk about a different counselor. The counselor that they want the knowledge from in this moment, because he is the one who has the most knowledge about, well, let's just say the enemy. It's the easiest way to put it. He has the most knowledge. He's delved into the lore and the stories more than anybody else. But he's not there. They don't tell you why he's not there. And that character is Saruman. He is at that time called the White Wizard. And he is the head of the order, of that particular order of wizards. So he's over Gandalf. So if they're going to have a thing, that's who they're going to. That's the wisdom they want to draw from, is this man. And so this man has made a choice. He's basically spent so much time doing that he is now lost. He lost his vision. He lost who he was and began to think, well, if I can just take what is power, what represents power, and if I use it for good, it's okay. The problem is, the enemy gets this ring. If they use it, they're going to do bad things with it. But if I use it, I'm going to do good things, so everything's going to be right. But in that, obviously, then that thing that began to corrupt him. And that began to corrupt him. To me, the ring represents a covenant. You saw it on there. I don't know. It's the inscription on it, which is one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to in the darkness bind them. And so the thing is, if you have that person who wears that one ring controls anybody who wears the other rings, and controls whatever other powers that it has. And so he's fallen to that, believing that it's not the ring that is evil. It's not what the ring represents that evil, it's just the people who use it. And so they eventually go to where he is. and he's already defeated by that point in time. But he still resides in power. He's still technically the head of that order. He still holds a place of authority, a seat that he no longer is qualified to occupy. And so when Gandalf gets there, and Saruman basically says, you're not strong enough. At that point in time, he removes his cloak. He said, that's because you believe I'm still Gandalf the Grey, yet I am Gandalf the White Rider. And he reveals who he is. And in that one revelation, you should realize that he has unseated that person that was before him, that person that forsook everything that they had been given. Everything that they were purposed to do, he forsook it in his choice to go after that ring, to try to make it work out himself beyond what he saw. He wanted to make it happen. And so in that moment, he reveals who he is. That power is transferred. And in a similar fashion, he strikes his staff, and the other, Saruman's staff, explodes. It shatters. Even the representation of his strength and power and who he was shattered. And the reason why, though, see, it didn't take 3 tries this time. Because there is a difference in having the faith for something. Having the faith about who you are. And knowing who you are. Today I want you to know who you are. Today I want you to know that in you, minus any other object, any other thing, resides power and strength. And yes, you're going to go through some things. And you've got to be willing to go into that thing. No hesitation. Not worried about what lies before you or what lies behind or who's going to be left behind, who's not going to be your friend anymore. But thinking about what you will become. Because every one of those things brings you one step closer to knowing who you are. Because I'm telling you what, he stood at that Balrog, but he was thinking, oh my Lord Jesus, I hope this is, you shall not pass. Though he stood with authority, because he knew where he came from, he only had the faith that it was going to work. And also interesting, he has nothing to do with the destroying of that object, of that ring. And this is interesting because what Archie spoke about this morning was also, I have it written in my notes. Young men will see visions and old men will dream dreams. And so see, I'm going to take my own liberty with this thing, but he's already old, but as he walks through some things, as he matures, it's different, right? So he has a vision. He sees where they need to walk through, what they need to go through, and he knows the end mark. But once it hits a certain point, he no longer has the vision, but he has a dream. And that dream it's not for him, but it's for those who went on to finish the task, to finish purpose. That part of the vision he saw is completed. And it doesn't mean he's not still seeing things and he doesn't know the road to take, but the road to take is not necessarily any longer for him. And I thought it was weird. Why does it say dream dreams? Could have just said young men dream. Young men see visions and old men dream. But it says dream dreams. Because yes, it's talking about a dream, as in sleep or whatever, but it's also talking about dream in the, let's see, I'll read the definitions because I did write those down somewhere. As just an aspiration, a goal, or an aim. You will dream those dreams. That aspiration, the goal that you're dreaming, that thing that you're seeing in that mind is not necessarily for you, but it's for your son. So you may have a vision for you, and eventually you'll begin to see that vision come to pass, and from that transition, now it's a dream for the vision of your son. And because of you're cultivating that, because you're willing to dream it, as that continues, it becomes. I mean, if you're hearing and obeying, that's why I can use anybody in this audience, right? You're hearing and obeying and you're following the Father. As you're dreaming that, man, it becomes His vision. And you've facilitated that. You've created that conduit for Him to be able to then attach to that vision, to see out that vision, till He becomes to dream for the next person's vision. And so that's what Gandalf had done. He followed out his vision to that point. And then beyond that, it was a dream. Everything he did from that point on, I haven't read all the books, so I'm prophesying this. No. Everything he did from that point on was so that Frodo would complete his task. But we focus on Frodo because he's the one, in the end, that is to complete the task. Yet he would have never done anything if at first there hadn't been that vision. There hadn't been that willingness of somebody to stand, in a sense, in the background and hold on to that dream. Cultivate that dream. Begin to send other things to happen. I'm going to send Aragorn over here to do this because then that's going to make this result. I'm going to go here and do this because that's going to make that result. And all the time that that's happening, he can continue on this dream that was set. Frodo can continue because now he's even unseen. Because of what I've done, it has made that channel for him to walk. Now, did he have his own trials, tribulations, and things that he went through? Yes. But that's not what I'm talking about. And as I said, the ring to me represented covenant. But it's the counterfeit. It was a counterfeit of a covenant that was meant to be, because Yahweh doesn't wish to put a ring on your finger so that He can control you. And so in this whole time, what they're trying to do is destroy the counterfeit. So that again, somebody like a Saruman doesn't get pulled into that thing, because was he happy that this man could not realize who he was and the power that he could stand with? That he could oppose this thing, that there was a path that led to the place that they were called to go. They didn't want to see him fall. But when it came to that place, then he fell. He made that choice. He offered him, even in the book, it doesn't do it in the movie, in the book he offers him let's say a path to salvation. He said, if you'll do these things and you'll come out now, I promise you, you'll walk a free man eventually. But he doesn't. He makes a choice to wallow in what he's created, and he stays in that tower that you see in the movie. So today I tell you that you have power. You're strong. The vision you see will come to pass. It'll start in faith. But you need to come to knowing who you are. You know, often in the book it speaks about, when it's talking about Frodo, it's always talking about how the ring drags or pulls at him. And you know, and it's saying that the ring is trying to get back to its true master. But that's not the way I really see it. What pulled at him, the weight he felt, was that draw of purpose. The weight he felt was that knowing that, man, I am on a mission to do this thing. This is what I have been created to do. And as I walk this thing out, man, that weight grows ever stronger. That weight of completing this task, this thing that Yahweh created me to do. As I continue to do it, if I'm not feeling a weight, if I live my life with no weight on my shoulders, then I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. It better be a little hard to take a step every now and then. I better stumble a little bit every now and then because of what I feel on my shoulders. And I felt it today. And so I knew that this day was on purpose. You know, it's like we say, it's not happenstance that they went on this week. It's not happenstance that Archie spoke. It's not happenstance that I spoke. This whole day was orchestrated by the Father. He sang it to each and every person in this room. And now we're walking out that song. It's not happenstance that I have the notes from some of what Archie spoke in my thing, and the notes from some of what Kaylee said when she was prophesying on my iPad. But today, know that you are empowered. I don't need to empower you. I want you to understand and be revealed to you that you are empowered. You are a powerful people. I want to release you from thinking that aspect of, oh, well, this looks good and it's going to get the result. I want to release you from that counterfeit. There is no other way but His way. No matter how good something else looks, if it's not what you're hearing, then it's not right. It's counterfeit. It looks good. It's pretty. It's expensive. Smells good. But it's not what He has for you. And then I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to get some weight on your shoulders. If it's not there, man, you better find it, because we can sing all day about hearing our purpose or seeing our purpose or whatever. But man, if you don't feel it, it ain't there. You may have a vision for it, but you're not walking in it. You're not walking in it. Because in this moment, I feel a weight for each and every one of you. Because I have a responsibility that I delivered what He put in me to deliver in a way that it propels you forward. And if it doesn't, then that's on me. So y'all better get it. I just want to make sure. You know, I'm honestly going to say one more thing that I don't even necessarily know. I'm going to start not knowing how it applies. But it happened this week. And so I'm going to speak it. I'm going to do something else before I do that. Let me find a couple things I wanted to. See, I switched from my phone to my iPad, and it doesn't look like everything went with it. But there were a couple things that Steve had said that came back to me. This wasn't what I was going to say, but I want to make sure that I do this too, because this is part of, I want to give credit to where credit's due. Part of what I'm speaking came from things that I heard from him. And it's simple things, but in the end of one of his messages, he just says these words: I want you to increase in wisdom and in knowledge and increase your sphere of influence. And see, and that's what I see that Gandalf did. See, because when he stood there, he had the ability to influence that one moment. But man, when he went through it, when he came out the other side, when he made the choice to stand there, man, his sphere of influence grew so large that the one that was before him, the one that should have been the one dreaming for him, that gave up, man, he just completely unseats him. His sphere of influence grew so large that now he becomes the head of the order just from that choice. Nobody votes him in, but he walks through that choice. And because of that sphere of influence increase and the power that he now realizes he has, he unseats somebody and takes his place. Becomes the head of the order. Now he's the one who's sought out. You know, the other thing he talked about was, and I think Tim Carney, this might be a little bit why you said what you said to me, but he talked about not revealing everything before it was time. You know, you can't just, well, he said poo-poo it all out there, so we'll just say it the way he did. And you can't. Because there will be those who don't understand. And so that's what Gandalf was, man, he was like king at it. He always knew what was the right way. He always knew, let me put it this way, he always knew where they would end up. He didn't know every step of the way to get there. So when another person spoke out, he was willing to say, you know what? I don't know, but there's a reason we have to do what you're saying too. I have the wisdom to know. But as he did that, man, he just increased as he made those choices. as he didn't reveal more than he had to each time. And as they walked out that journey, he began each time to increase a little and a little. And when the big decision came and he took it, and he increased so large. And that's what you have the ability to do. You have the ability to do that. And so I had this is really, I'm just going to share it, okay? So, I had a dream. Extremely odd. Can't even really tell you much about it. Don't even know the purpose of it. But one thing I do remember is I came out of somewhere, and I know that I was with Steve. I don't know to what capacity or what reason or any point to any of it, but as I came out of this place and I turned to the side, he had been with Jim Schneider. He wasn't with him now. I think he was still inside. It's really weird. The whole thing was weird. But I look over, and I just see him standing. It looks kind of like he's leaning against a fence. And what I understand about him is he's arrayed for battle. I thought it looks like he's wearing a shirt and jeans to me. That's what it looked like in the dream. But it said he was arrayed for battle. You know, he wasn't arrayed for a battle in the sense of we think of war. He wasn't wearing chainmail and armor and have a broadsword strapped to his side or back. But he was prepared. He was prepared for the journey. He was prepared for what came next. Are you ready? Are you ready if that thing comes up in front of you, begins to threaten your purpose, begins to threaten you? Are you arrayed for battle? Do you know what's in your arsenal? And which thing to use as the time comes? To use the pistol when it's necessary to use the pistol, and use the cannon when it's necessary to use the cannon? And yeah, it's about, to me, it's about preparedness. He was prepared for whatever was coming. I mean, I guess I see it tied because the truth is, that's what Gandalf was. He was always prepared. He was always the one they turned to. They knew that he knew who he was. And what's also interesting, I'll just say this real quick. There's the character Aragorn in the book, or Aragorn, I guess it actually technically is. He's a king of kings past, or of a line of kings past. But he doesn't take that seat in the books. He's a wanderer. But all these different situations in the book, when it calls for that time for him to be in that authority or power, it even describes how all of a sudden he stood taller. All of a sudden he looked younger. All of a sudden this, all of a sudden that. Because in those slight moments when he would begin to remember who he was and step into that place and that seat of power that was designed for him, he began to look like who he was. And so that's what I want today. I don't want to end on, it seems like this somber thing. I don't know, it's weird. I want you to know you're powerful. I want you to know you have authority. And I want to challenge you to walk it out. To walk it out and find that thing, man. If you don't know what it is, if you don't see that purpose, and I'm not talking about, you know, we often want to think what that ultimate purpose is. And it's not necessarily what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about that purpose for today, that purpose for tomorrow. Man, find it. Because I'm telling you, every day has some kind of purpose for His kingdom in it. Every day should carry some amount of weight. And I mean, you know, when you talk about the sphere of influence and people, you know, want to say, well, I don't have influence over there. I don't see that I can change the world. And, you know, in the way that we've been talking about it recently, you may not. You know, you may not hold a government seat. You may not own a business or be able to get into the place of running a major corporation anytime soon, but I'm telling you what, you better have some sphere of influence and the ability to change the person sitting right next to you. And you do. Not that you better, you do. What you better do is realize that you have it and act on it when the opportunity and the time comes. Do something about it. If I haven't changed a life in this room today or any other day, whether it's because I spoke up here or I stood down there, it doesn't matter. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to shake your hand. I don't even have to see you. You may have come on a Sunday and somebody says, well, so-and-so here. I didn't even know you were here. But if I did what I was supposed to do up here, or back there or around there, if I turned the AC at the right time, I don't care what it was, naturally or spiritually speaking. But if I did what I was called to do in that day, you better have been changed. And if you weren't changed, it's because you made a choice not to be a part and not to change. So know that you have that ability. And I have faith right now in your abilities. I know my abilities. I have faith for some of them. I know some of them, let's put it that way. Because if I knew the fullness of who I was right now, I wouldn't be here, I don't think, really, at least not the way y'all are seeing me currently. But I have faith for who you are. I want to know who you are. But we'll move in faith right now and in tomorrow's now. And we'll keep walking in that faith to the next faith until we get to the knowing. And once we know each other, once we become one, in spirit and in truth, of the vision of this place, the vision of the kingdom, the vision of the Father, there's nothing we can't do. Amen?